Hi, it's Rob the Fix-It Guy again. How you doing? Sorry I haven't uploaded in a while. It's been pretty cold here. But now the weather's starting to get better. We're getting back into spring. So I'm working on my summer car. It's an 86 Buick Regal. It's a G-body vehicle. And I'm replacing the front springs. I'm replacing them with some higher stiffness springs. They're Moog's. I believe the model number is 5658 for the fronts. So these boost the pounds per inch to about 580, whereas the originals were about 400. So almost, about 50% improvement, 45% in terms of stiffness. The problem you're going to have with the G-bodies is getting these springs in. So I did have these side spring compressors here, which work fine when you're using McPherson strut type suspension. But unfortunately on these G-bodies, this won't work, and I'll explain why. When you tighten this up, this bolt is going to come up, and so is this one. And then what's going to happen is it's going to hit on the inside where you're trying to get the spring in. I'm going to show that to you in a second. But basically the top of the spring, and you notice here we have the white spray paint, that's top. Where there's no white spray paint, that's down. So where the white spray paint is, that's the top of your spring. So I'm going to show you right now, but the top of this spring goes inside the frame. So there's basically almost like a hole, and this sits up into that chamber there. So I'm going to show that to you right now. All right, so here's the frame on this G-body. So you're going to see this goes all the way from the front of the vehicle all the way to the back bumper, and the spring actually sits right inside here. So I'm going to show you a video of that. Let me just get some lighting. And there you go. You can see that's where the spring sits in. So the problem you're going to have is because of this structure here, you cannot use the type of spring compressor that is on each side. So what I had to do was I had to buy a center spring compressor. So this one actually sits in the middle of the spring. Got this on Amazon. It's by 8 Mile. Bought it for less than 20 bucks. And you're going to notice a little funky thing here I got going on. And what it is these are actually plumbing connectors for plumbing pipes, where you can actually connect two pipes. So I've got 1, 2, 3 of these in here. And you say, well, why did you have to add these? Well, the reason is, if you see over here, this bolt, if I didn't put these, this bolt would go up so high that it would actually hit the inside of the cavity. So I would not be able to compress this spring and actually get it in here. So by putting these spacers in here, I'm now going to be able to compress this spring and actually get it in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to compress this spring. I'm then going to put a jack under the control arm. I'm going to put the spring in place, and then we're going to lift it up. You're also going to notice here on the control arm, we've got 2 holes. Those 2 holes right here, those 2 holes are where you're going to line up the pigtail on the spring. So the spring actually needs to start right somewhere in this range and then start winding around. Okay, that's how you know you've got it in the proper position. So we're going to do that right now. All right, so here we've got the actual center spring compressor that I purchased. It's got the name there and I believe the model number and so on. The actual box doesn't say anything at all on it. All right, so you're going to notice here we've got an isolator. This is a good idea to add one of these. They're only a few bucks, so that when the spring actually goes up in here, it's not metal on metal. The spring isolates it, or I should say the insulator isolates it from the chassis. Okay, we're going to tighten this up a little bit, and let's see how it goes. Let's spray some WD-40. Yeah, looks pretty good. Might even be ready to go. Okay, so here we are. What we did was we've compressed the spring a couple of inches. We've placed it up in here to make sure it's seated properly. And then what we did was we raised the control arm by hand and then got our jack underneath. So this has not been raised all the way. It's only been raised about an inch. Just wanted to point out to you, way at the back here is that hole. There's 2 holes that I had showed you. And you want to make sure that the pigtail, you can probably see it right there, the pigtail has to be between the 2 holes. Okay, it's a little bit hard to see, I guess, on the video. All right, so now that we're all lined up, what we're going to do is we're going to raise the jack and make sure that the spring seats properly. You can see that's going up real nice. Good. At this point, what we can do is we can install the knuckle here, which is attached to the rotor, and we're going to make sure that that's attached properly so that when we release both the tool as well as the jack, that nothing is going anywhere, because basically the hub is going to hold this, which is the upper control arm, and the lower control arm, so the spring will be safely captured in there, and we're not going to have any safety issues. Okay, so what we've got now, we've placed our jack under the lower ball joint. We've lifted it up a little bit. It gave us the opportunity to install the nut for the upper ball joint and also the nut for the lower ball joint, which is right here. All right, so we've got those both on there, and what that basically means now is that spring cannot escape, because the hub here is ensuring that that the upper and lower ball joint are going to be held in place, so the spring cannot escape now. Now what we're able to do, I'm going to lower the jack, and we're going to remove the spring compressor. All right, so now what we're doing is we're loosening the spring compressor, and what this is going to do is it's going to obviously put pressure on the upper and lower control arm. I want to put a tool in there, an impact gun, but unfortunately the car isn't jacked up high enough, so I'm doing it by hand. All right, so we're loosening the tool here. We've got the final last few turns to get this nice and loose. You can see the arms now are starting to move a little bit. So we're going to loosen this up as much as we can. And then hopefully we're going to be able to get this tool out without too much trouble. I think what we're going to do is we're going to loosen it till the top clamp comes completely out, and now we're going to be able to get this completely loose. Alright, there's the top clamp. Came right out. Not a problem. It's like a bit of a jigsaw puzzle. Alright, so we got the bolt out. And we'll get our clamps in. There's clamp number 1. And clamp number 2 has to be stuck a little bit. Alright, so the second clamp was kind of stuck between a couple of the spring curls there. All I did was just put this wrench in, a little tap, and we got number 2 out. So here we go, we got the bolt, we got the 2 clamps, everything's out. And now the spring is properly installed and it's properly lined up. So we're in great shape. So now the next thing we can do is install the spring. So the spring goes from here, right at the top, goes from here, all the way down to right where the hole where the spring is. Goes from here, all the way to here. I got some Bilstein shocks here. These should give us some really nice handling. And the lower control arms are stock. GM just repainted them. And the upper ones are actually from Speedway.com. These are from Circle Track Racing. Great deal on these. You can get them for about 45 or 50 bucks. They're chrome alloy with aluminum here at the top. Killer deal. You can't beat these. Hello, thank you for watching my video. And I hope you learned how to install springs on a GM vehicle using the center spring compressor. Makes it much easier and safer to do. Thanks, and subscribe to my channel.